Long before the Spider-Verse craze and the Oscar-winning Everything Everywhere All at Once, there have been plenty of cartoon episodes where some characters have either entered a parallel universe or encountered variants from a different dimension throughout time, space, and reality. These experimental episodes show how much creativity was put into these realms to make themselves stand out from the others. It just goes to show that one move or moment can change everything, creating a whole new world from within. As you expect, for this top 10, we're going to look over cartoon episodes that have a multiverse theme. However, episodes like Laugh Olympics or OK Ben Let's Go Universe won't count because they're more like Kingdom Hearts style crossovers, not considered alternate timelines or dimensions. So let's do some portal jumping because we got a bunch of universes to surf across galaxies. This is the top 10 multiverse cartoons. Let us begin our journey by going to a universe where someone claimed it was created by a crab named Baxter. For anyone who has been watching my videos, I am a fan of Anime Insanity along with Battle for Dream Island. I reviewed the former during its first 2 seasons and done some vlogs on season 3, and I consider both object shows to be the next total drama while I wait for the reboot to come out in my region. Now I know what you're thinking, how could there be a multiverse episode on Anime Insanity? Does it have something to do with the crossovers or with nickel confusion? No. I'm talking about the 12th episode of II Season 2, Alternate Reality Show. After the teens merge, microphones stumble upon Tetsu's secret laboratory so she and Taco can take her experiments behind her back. But when Lightball also got into the lab, she messes with TT's calculator to pay for the soda, but the device turns out to be a time machine. It sent both Lightball and Tetsu to the very first episode of the series, and Lightball accidentally helped Salt and Pepper win the cliff jumping challenge when they weren't supposed to in the first place. And that's where the alternate timeline comes in. For whatever reason, the background became otherworldly different just by having the Condiment Girls win the first episode. The grass is now purple, the clouds are square, and the hills and mountains have become Swiss cheese. Plus a brand new cast of contestants pop out presenting their one trait, and to top all of that, Salt and Pepper somehow overthrew me from 4 and became the new host for Inanimate Insanity Infinity. The biggest reason why this episode is on the list is how unusual this new timeline turned out to be. In fact, about 2/3 of the episode focuses mostly on Lightball and Tetsu trying to find their way back home. While Lightball is having a good time with her new friends, Tetsu is trying hard to fix the time machine to undo the damage. As for the new alternative management of the show, it clearly showed that Salt and Pepper want to have the spotlight all to themselves, and when they host a challenge, they won't allow the Infinity Cast to participate nor win anything. Even the eliminations are rigged. After a conversation with Tetsu, the girls tamper with the votes to get her out because she's smart and doesn't fit in either the odd players of Infinity or is not deemed glamorous as Salt or Pepper, forcing her to either die inside Black Hole or go into the small portal on a never-ending cycle to stay on the show until she gives in to the first option. Now, after everything I just said, it does seem like a dimension no one wants to participate when no one can win. Yes, but the funny thing is, the best part about Inanimate Insanity Infinity is when the contestants are not competing and having a fun time with Lightball. The only time that any Infinity contestants ever came back was when Tetsu used her time machine to give fan an audience for his talk show. Alternate Reality Show, an Inanimate Insanity episode where the results are pretty chaotic, even in another dimension.
What's become of this world? No! Brand new reality, a brand new reality.
Okay, time to check the specs. There is a 2014 cartoon about the multiverse created by the same director who did Encanto and co-directed Zootopia. Mission: get this show on the radar. Pen Zero, Part-Time Hero is one of Disney's underrated anime series from the 2010s. The premise is straightforward, but imaginative in terms of execution. A boy named Pen teams up with his friends Boone and Sashi as they travel through multiverse dimensions, taking on roles as heroes to save everyone and defeat the forces of evil. But these aren't just ordinary universes. They can range from cowboys riding dinosaurs instead of horses, a land filled with stuffed animals, a war between rock, paper, scissors, a world where everything is a pop culture anime, even a super universe where Adam West stars as a superhero and supervillain.
Oh, hey, look.
look, everyone, it's that one guy who takes a very long time to say his name.
Captain Super Captain!
So out of all the multiverse episodes Penn and his friends have ever entered, which one is among the best? The answer? The final episode of the show, At the End of the Worlds. In the series finale, the trio go on their final mission to rescue Penn's parents located in the most dangerous world imaginable. But in order to get there, they had to go to some evil dimensions and charge up some crystals to activate the right portal. The finale does know how to wrap up a series by showing how much the characters have learned throughout their adventures and understand what it means to be a hero. In fact, throughout the mission, it raises the stakes and tests the strength between good and evil. It starts out with Penn, Boone, and Sachi facing some obstacles that are meant to challenge their roles as a part-time hero, Weissman, and sidekick. But once they get close to rescuing Penn's parents, their arch-enemy and art teacher, Ripon, comes in to sabotage them by summoning every villain from other dimensions they ever face. This of course leads to the hero receiving allies from other universes, where now the rescue mission becomes a test to see which side will win.
Forgive me, Mother Forest, but all trees are sacred, except for these jars.
But it doesn't stop there. The two sides have to join forces to seal the most dangerous world imaginable, so the evil energy doesn't rip apart everyone and everything from existence. With this unusual teamwork, it seems to manage to make all universes live in peace by simply having a balance of good and evil, leading to a shocking twist of Phyllis and Phil's identity, which I'm not going to spoil, and a soothing ending montage where everybody's living happily ever after, while Penn and his friends continue their part-time roles back on Earth. There's a lot of fight scenes, emotional moments, and even some surprises that make At the End of the Worlds a satisfying finale. It's the right balance of action and excitement. Before Spider-Man 2099 created the Spider Society, there was the mistress of all spiders, Madam Web. Okay, I promise this is the last time I mention anything Spider-Man related on Multiverse Month, so let's go way back when Spider-Man had a popular cartoon series. No, wrong cartoon. I'm talking about the 1994 TV series where it features 2 episodes of the Web Slinger jumping in 2 dimensions. The 2 episodes were meant as a 2-part story arc entitled The Spider Wars, where Spider-Man had to face his biggest enemy of his entire life, himself. After completing a mission set by the Beyonder and Madam Web, Spider-Man was sent to a parallel universe that looks like his home, except everything is destroyed. This was all caused by the Kingpin, Alistar Smythe, Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, and the leader of the Master Plan, Spider Carnage. It turns out Spider-Man was transported into Scarlet Spider's reality, and Spider Carnage has his history with the other Spider-Man. So Prime Spider-Man and the other Spider-Man must team up to defeat Spider Carnage to save all reality from total annihilation. What makes this Spider-Man arc amazing is that this was technically the first ever Spider-Man cartoon to feature elements of the Spider-Verse by other Spider-Men from other dimensions. There's the Doc Ock Spider-Man, who kept Octavia's invention for safekeeping and seemed to have full control over it. Armored Spider-Man is a multi-billionaire similar to Iron Man with a big ego. Mutated Spider-Man is the same Spider-Man that Peter went through regarding the mutation disease, from the extra arms to the Man-Spider transformation. The Powerless Spider-Man, who is secretly an actor who plays Spider-Man on TV, emphasizing the popularity of the Web Slinger as a fictional character. And finally, the Scarlet Spider, a Peter Parker that lost his past memory from a clone-making scientist and changed his name to Ben Reilly. What's interesting about this Spider-Man is that he and Spider Carnage had a history together. A scientist named Miles Warren cloned Peter Parker, but the clone escaped during the procedure, but neither Spider Carnage and Scarlet Spider are sure which one is the real Peter Parker. And the back Peter Parker has gone through so much crisis between losing his Uncle Ben and Aunt May, having the Scarlet Spider as another spider hero, and the possibility that he might be a clone, fueling him nothing but rage and hatred.
This is starting to sound like a bad comic book plot. It gets worse.
The cloning side effect includes a habit of narrating to myself. And during one of the Kingpin's crimes, a dimensional portal opened and released the Carnage symbiote from the first dimension, bonding with the bad Peter Parker, becoming Spider Carnage, making him the most dangerous supervillain Spider-Man has ever faced. Going back to the Spider Wars entirely, it does raise the stakes even higher than Spider-Man's previous adventures, and with a team of 5 other Spider-Men, the action scene presents a lot of creative scenarios when the Web Slingers use their own powers.
Nice. What do you call that stuff? Impact webbing. Why didn't I think of that?
And during the second part, despite the alternatives have to sit out, some of them gain some development from their worlds to reveal who they are. There's an ingenious twist on defeating Spider-Carnage which explains everything on how the Armored Spider-Man got so rich, and a sweet ending for the Powerless Ones dimension where Spider-Man meets the man that created him, Stan Lee. No matter which dimension Spider-Man jumps into, no matter how different he appears to be, and no matter who else can take on the mantle and responsibility of Spider-Man, the Spider-Mask will always fit in every dimension. Enough said.
You are finally entitled to some happiness.
Amen to that, dear lady. Amen to that.
Did you ever wish one of your fanfic stories would come true someday? Only one about tunes and people coexist together like Roger Rabbit. Adventure Time did have some episodes where Finn and Jake actually entered parallel universes like the farm world, but that's not the dimension we'll be talking about. Instead, we're going to an alternative universe that is all fanfiction called Adventure Time with Fiona and Cake. But which chapters? Well, I'm gonna say all of them, except for the parts where the Ice King shoehorned himself in. In these episodes, all the Adventure Time characters switch genders. That's right, instead of Finn the human boy, it's Fiona the human girl. Instead of Jake the dog, it's Cake the cat. The list goes on with Prince Gumball, Ice Queen, Marshall Lee, and many more. While the characters do share the same talents and personality as the Land of Ooh residents, there are some original adventures and abilities within the alternative universe. Like Fiona going on a date with Prince Gumball, who is secretly the Ice Queen, Marshall Lee showing off how much of a bad boy he is, and Lumpy Space Prince learning how to live a regular life. There was even at one point that Ice King tried to tie each character's story like Cuber's Great Bolt, and just have a table involve all of them.
I'll never look at tables the same way again.
Now some could argue that this may not count as an existing parallel universe within the show since these episodes were obviously all fanfiction by a crazy guy that locks up princesses. However, there is a theory that this alternate Land of Ooh universe might exist like the farm world, and these episodes turn out to be so good, Fiona and Cake might as well deserve to have their own show. In fact, there have been confirmation that a Fiona and Cake spin-off is still in the works to this day. While the original Adventure Time series is officially over, the legacy still continues such as Distant Lands, so maybe there will be an actual universe where the human girl and cat exist and not some book written by an overly obsessed person. The closest clue there is the episode Fiona and Cake and Fiona when an imposter found a TV show tape featuring the duo. They may be basic gender-swapping stories, but it's more effective in its own universe. If there is anything we can learn from these fanfic episodes, is that the fun will never end on Adventure Time.
But believe me, I will. I will.
Hey everyone, I know what we're gonna do today. Make a follow-up to a Disney Channel original movie. Phineas and Ferb was one of the most popular anime shows of all time. It follows a certain formula where two boys build some crazy contraption to make the best summer ever. Their sister tries to bust them but ultimately fails, while their pet platypus goes undercover to stop an evil scientist who gets confused for a pharmacist. The boys did have their own movie called Phineas and Ferb Across the Second Dimension where they encounter other versions of themselves from a parallel universe to defeat the diabolical Dr. Doofenshmirtz. But now that he's defeated, what's next for the Second Dimension characters? This leads to the follow-up episode, Tales from the Resistance, where the other Phineas, Ferb, and members of the Resistance tried to have some summer fun by playing some sports. But those plans were switched when they got attacked by some bionic animals led by none other than Charlene Doofenshmirtz.
And who is that?
Charlene Doofenshmirtz. She's my ex-wife.
While Tales from the Resistance act more like a one-tail than nanny, this episode was a great follow-up to the movie. When it starts off in the Flynn Fletcher house, all the Second Dimension characters are trying to adapt their newfound freedom for the evil Dr. D. Major Monogram and Carl are trying to rebuild their secret organization, Perry is getting adjusted to his control-free cyborg form, and the Second Dimension Fiends, Ferb, and the Resistance are learning to have some summer fun. And they do so by combining every sports equipment into a gigantic field. Well, it's not as big as building a roller coaster or treehouse robots, but still an imaginative way to create a new game. The only one that doesn't seem to be in the summer spirit is Candace. She's not like the first Dimension Candace that wants to bust her brothers over building something extreme. This Candace is concerned about her brother's safety and is afraid Dr. Doofenshmirtz will rise again, causing her to have no time for anything. But there are some other additions introduced in the episode like the cyborg animals. They used to be members of the OWCA, organization without a cool acronym, before Dr. Doof took over the tri-state area and his ex-wife roboticized them as part of her army. It leads to some pretty cool action scenes and a serious goal to rescue Perry from being imprisoned, and when they do face Charlene, it's revealed that she and Heinz Doofenshmirtz pretend to be divorced so no one can take her in as her husband's cellmate, along with some other complications.
We get double the amount of discount coupons in the mail. We have twice the junk to offer in our annual yard sale.
While the episode ends with the bad guys getting away, the heroes did manage to free the animals from their mind control, with Candace resigning from the Resistance to have some free time, but still be available to help them. I've been hearing Phineas and Ferb are coming back with a reboot with the creators reprising their position, but if there will be another Second Dimension episode, I'd be on board with it. It's about as intriguing as a Chronicles of Meep episode. It's all the convoluted reasons to spend summer in the Second Dimension.
Well, I usually only say one line per day.
One line? Really? Why? Seriously, that was it?
I think I know a guy to explain this multiverse. Brainstorm. Everybody's life is a story. There are the good parts, the bad, the funny, and sometimes the very, very scary. And when we tell a story, we never tell it the same way twice, so here's one way to tell a two-parter story. Ben 10 was an act show I remember watching all the time along with Samurai Jack on Cartoon Network. But when Omniverse came, I started to lose interest in the series for being a never-ending series by itself. You see, Omniverse sounds like a Ben 10 show where Ben would meet other variants of himself, but in the early seasons, they never fully intertwined, just flashbacks of him as a kid with a new alien named Feedback. But eventually, they started reeling the multiverse idea on a few episodes, some of which would appear later. And then there was the two-part episode literally called And Then There Was None, or Ben. The episode takes place in an alternative timeline where Ben doesn't receive the Alien Watch, aka the Omnitrix. He never knew some alien monsters during his road trip, nor knew his grandma Max was an intergalactic ranger. However, Vilgax from the Prime Dimension and Eon recruited some evil Bens from other worlds to kill the Watchless Ben. Why? Because he is considered a wild card, and according to Vilgax,
And in my future, there is no room for wild cards.
Also, he created a device that can wipe out all wielders of the Omnitrix from existing, including their worlds, and No Watch Ben's world is the perfect spot to erase them. So No Watch Ben had to use the watch Prime Ben gave him to restore all the Ben 10 timelines and recruit wielders of the Omnitrix with some help from Paradox. Out of all the Ben 10 episodes that were made, Omniverse had created a numerous supply of variants. Well, there are some familiar alternate timelines that have already been introduced before, like Gwen 10, Ben 10,000, Albedo, and more. But there's also the debut of the evil Bens like Bad, Negative, Bizarro, even a Mad Max-style Ben Tennyson. He should be thankful that there isn't a xenomorph alien Ben popping out to eat him alive. But when it comes to the Ben without the alien watch, he does go through a hero's journey who seeks some excitement in his life. Even though he doesn't wield the Omnitrix in his universe, there is still a part of that alien adventure that is within his own timeline, as well as being a hero. There are some callbacks to the first ever Ben 10 series like the Summer Road Trip and Grandpa Max's history of Vilgax, which does maintain the legacy of the show. And during the action scenes, there are all kinds of different versions of the recognizable aliens to fit more with their respective homeworlds. There was even some instances when Ben 10,000 actually merges two aliens to combine their powers.
For Mungasaur!
It's slimy, freaky, fast, and strong. It's in every shape and size. It's no ordinary two-part episode. It's Ben 10 Omniverse.
Somehow I thought this hero stuff would be more glamorous.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this, check out these other videos, or feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more upcoming reviews and other projects. I'll see you soon.